God morgon, or good morning, as we should say at this Fatta Tech webinar, because it's in English. Are you there? Are you awake? Did you hear the music? Write in the chat. Good morning. Good morning, Rosanna and Hannah. So nice to have you here this early morning. So today we're gonna get some insights in some cool tech roles at Columbia Road. We have Johanna and Emilia with us here. It should be Juuli and Emilia, but Juuli is unfortunately sick, but we're so happy to have Johanna here as well instead. And yeah, the agenda for today. So I'm not going to talk for very long. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Zoom. Perhaps you are a Zoom ninja by now, but I will tell you anyway. So if you sit in your pajamas, that's totally fine because no one's going to see you and no one's going to hear you. So you can just relax. And yeah, Johanna and Emilia will talk after me here until 8:30, and then we're going to have a Q&A session on 10 minutes. And this is the button down here somewhere called Q&A. So please write your question there. And you can write it anytime during this webinar. And we're going to answer them afterwards. But we also have the marketing lead Hanna from Columbia Road with us as well. She's not in video, but she's here in the background. And she will answer questions about maybe work at Columbia Road, recruitment, if you're interested in that. And that's also in the Q&A. So make sure to ask your questions in the Q&A. You can use the chat if you want to like comment on something, spread some love. Yeah, you name it. So I will stop sharing my screen and give the word to Emilia and Johanna.
Thank you, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen here. Can you see it? Yes, perfect. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Emilia, and I work in sales at Columbia Road in the Stockholm office.
And hello, I'm Johanna, and I'm part of the design team at Columbia Road.
Yeah, and we'll go into more detail about what we do exactly and how we got to where we are today at Columbia Road in a bit. But first, just to give you a context as to what we do, I want to give you a little brief introduction to Columbia Road as a company. So Columbia Road is a Nordic digital sales consultancy that was founded in Helsinki, Finland 5 years ago. We started with 5 consultants and now we're up to almost 140 consultants. So we've grown quite steadily over the years. We're also part of Futurized Group, and together with them, we're an additional 700 digital experts and also have a presence in a few other locations other than our own offices in Helsinki and Stockholm. So in England, Germany, and Denmark as well. And yeah, but you might ask yourself, what does a digital sales consultancy do exactly? Well, basically we help companies in making the transition from traditional sales and marketing activities to digital ones. So replacing or complementing traditional call centers with sales development processes in a CRM system, or maybe making field sales more efficient by let's say developing an iPad app that can be used to demo products and create proposals on the go. It can also mean replacing brick and mortar stores with e-commerce sites. The list goes on. But we basically focus on having a business impact on our customers using digital means such as full stack development, marketing technology, and design. So we can help our clients by building or implementing platforms from scratch, whether it's an e-commerce site or a marketing automation tool. We work with growth hacking methods to optimize sales and increase the customer base of our clients. We also do some strategic work because quite often in digital transformation requires organizational and cultural change on a strategic level. So we can also provide strategic advice on how to do that successfully. And then we also provide continuous care and maintain the systems that we have developed or assisted in implementing. But the aim of all of these services is basically to help companies get more revenue and get more customers in the digital era. And we do this by working in cross-functional teams consisting of developers, designers, marketing technologists, and sales transformation strategists, all with the same type of growth mindset and competency in digital commerce and data enthusiasm. We're all data lovers. And I also want to mention that we have 0 CEOs. We believe that every roadie, that's what we call ourselves, regardless if you're a summer roadie or if you're a more experienced consultant, you get the autonomy to make your own decisions in your work. Because we believe that every roadie is hired to make the best decisions themselves. But with that said, you of course have the support of 130 plus roadies at all times whenever you need it. And these are a few of the clients that we've worked with, just to show you that we work with all types of companies, B2B, B2C, startups to big established publicly listed companies from all different types of industries with one common goal, and that is to get more revenue and customers, basically. So that's a bit of context around Columbia Road and the services that we offer. So now I guess I'll jump over to my CV here, I guess, to give you a context as to how I ended up at Columbia Road. And like I mentioned earlier, I work in sales at the Stockholm office, and I started my journey with the company as a summer associate or summer roadie, like we like to call ourselves, in May this year. So haven't been at the company for that long, but actually got the opportunity to continue working for Columbia Road after the summer, part-time as I wrap up the final year of my master's degree, which is in information systems management at Stockholm University. So it's basically a master's that's a mix between business and tech. But how did I end up here? Well, I have a background in business. So I did a bachelor in business in Sydney, Australia, and had various business-related roles and internships throughout my studies and also after my graduation. So I, for example, worked as a business controller at a SaaS company and did a finance traineeship at Swedish American Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. But the role at that SaaS company in Australia is what really sparked my interest in technology and more specifically sales and consulting in relation to technical solutions. I really enjoyed working as a business controller as I got to do two things that I really liked. I got to work with analytics and automation. And I discovered my interest for those two areas when I was interning at one of Australia's leading online fashion retailers, Showpo. Think the Australian equivalent of Nelly.com. And all their decision making was heavily data driven, and they had amazing tools to automate as many processes as possible throughout the business. Tools that I had never worked with or never heard of, such as email marketing automation software and CRM systems. So having gained those two interests made it really fun to go into business controlling. Believe it or not, as I got to work with data, I got to translate financial data into valuable insights. And I also got to work with automation. I helped identify gaps in the processes in the financial department and identify ways of optimizing our different processes in the financial department. And also got to help out with the implementation of the company's first CRM system, which was Salesforce. And absolutely love that because I just found it so satisfying to automate old manual time-consuming processes so that you can use your time more efficiently and focus on developing the business. But the one thing that was missing for me was the client communication and just communicating with different types of stakeholders. I was always glancing over at the sales department and was really longing for a client-facing role. I enjoy the internal problem solving, but as I am a people person, being able to solve problems in the digital domain for clients as a job, that sounded like a dream job for me. And as a result, I chose a bit of a different path in my master's degree and applied for a summer role at Columbia Road. Because I saw that as an opportunity to combine my business background with my newfound interest in technology. So with almost just one little semester left of my IT-focused master's degree, my academic journey has involved both business and IT-related studies. And with the IT competency that I've gained, which ranges from programming to UX to data warehousing, I guess I could choose a job as a developer or a designer, which I still can, but I've always been more interested in being the bridge between tech and business. And that's why I find it so fun to sell digital solutions and optimize sales processes at Columbia Road. But what do I actually do at Columbia Road? Well, my role is split 50-50 between sales and sales development. But what's the difference, you may ask? Well, I guess most of you probably know what sales involve, but sales development is not a very common practice in Europe yet. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. Sales development originates from Silicon Valley and has been used by the big SaaS companies like Salesforce and Oracle since the 80s. But it's still not a very common tactic in Europe yet, and especially among B2B companies. And it's really changing how companies do sales. So we like to call sales development kind of like the glue between marketing and sales. As a sales development representative, you work in marketing teams where the sales and marketing processes are intertwined. And this marketing team is constantly syncing to come up with campaigns, customer communication, and marketing automation, which is something that marketing would traditionally do on their own. But as the salespeople are constantly interacting with prospects, they have a really good idea of what should be emphasized when undertaking these various marketing activities to generate the most leads and also the warmest leads. And the responsibility of sales development in this marketing team is basically to filter out the most qualified leads generated by these marketing activities conducted by the marketing team, and also directing these warm leads to the salespeople to make sure that they're only attending meetings with the warmest leads. Because sales dev is making sure that we're still keeping in touch with the colder leads anyways through automated sequences, which I also work with in my role. So these sequences consist of, for example, automated emails and automated LinkedIn requests, connection requests that make sure that we're not neglecting these cold leads in the CRM system that could actually eventually turn into warm leads. But just making sure that we're focusing on the warm leads, or at least the salespeople are just attending meeting with warm leads. And by replacing traditional call centers and cold calling, that's common in the traditional sales, with these sales development processes, you're able to multiply your outreach to potential customers by at least 100. So it's really a game changer for companies doing sales. And when it comes to the sales part of my role, it basically involves participating in some of the meetings that I book through my sales development activities. In these meetings, I get to do really what I was longing for when I was working at that SaaS company in Australia. I get to talk to clients and I get to identify bottlenecks in their customer journeys, present proposals and solutions to the problems that they're experiencing in the digital domain together with our consultants to ultimately help these companies get more revenue and get more customers. And going back to what I mentioned earlier, I guess I could become a full-blown coder and or UX designer with my IT degree, but the IT competency is also a major advantage, I would say, when working in a more non-traditional tech role like my own. For example, since I've actually done, for example, Salesforce system integrations in my schoolwork, I'm able to better understand and discuss in a sales meeting with a potential client how they can optimize the use of their Salesforce CRM, if that's the software that they're using. And it's also easier for me to define the scope of the project and define the timeline and come up with a price estimate for the project. And even though I was a data enthusiast before I started my master's, my theoretical knowledge in information management from university has really strengthened my ability to organize and make use of data in the CRM software, which not only helps me advising potential clients on how they can use their CRM in the best possible way, but it also helps me figure out how to optimize the use of our own CRM internally at Columbia Road. And not gonna lie, coming from a business background and jumping straight into an IT-focused master's, it's not been easy at all times. I've had to break down technical concepts and dig into different technologies in my IT degree to make sense of it all and make sure I pass my exams, I guess. And that's helped me become better at translating and explaining complex technical information to potential clients that may not have a technical background. And yeah, these are all advantages that are helping me explain how different digital means can solve specific problems that the client is facing, and basically making me a better technical salesperson, I guess. So in conclusion, you're not tied to the roles on your CV. Business controlling is not that far away from technical sales, even though it may seem so. It's all problem solving in the end. So don't be afraid to choose a different career path. Just because you did social sciences in high school doesn't mean you're banned from the IT industry. You can still get in there. And also look at your non-traditional background as an asset rather than a barrier when taking a different career path. Even if you're working in a non-traditional tech role, such as sales, your technical competency is going to be it's really going to make you better at your job. So don't beat yourself up if you realize that maybe you're not meant to be a coder after that coding course. It's still great to have that competency in other roles, more non-traditional ones maybe. And then just a little final tip, I guess. If you're wanting to upskill and choose a more technical career path, I think one really good first step is to start by really mastering the tool stack at your current workplace. Maybe getting involved in the implementation of that new software that you're using at your company, because it may open doors for you in the future. Who knows, maybe you'll be selling that software at the actual SaaS company providing that solution in the future. Or maybe you'll become a consultant advising other companies on how to use that software. So those are my 2 cents, basically. Now over to Johanna. How did you get to where you are?
Hello. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see me on the screen, but at least Emilia can reenact my story, if nothing else. But yeah, hello everyone. I'm Johanna, and as said, I work with design at Columbia Road. And more specifically, at my current role, I mainly deal with UX, UI, and service design. But before joining Columbia Road, I've done my fair share of exploring. I've been an in-house designer. I had my brief stay at the academia doing research, and as well, I've seen very small and very big consultancies. But spoiler alert, I think Columbia Road is clearly my favorite job that I've ever had. And I'm hoping that I can share a few of the reasons behind why I think so in my presentation. But also a side note, in my studies, I might have done some degrees that you might be familiar with. I also studied at KTH and Stockholm University, so it could be something that you're doing at the moment. But yeah, really happy to be here today. And let's go forward. Yes, thank you. So I did my studies in a subject called human-computer interaction and interaction design. And what I gained from my days at school was a lovely variety of different subjects. My education was mainly revolving around design, psychology, and computer science. So that gave me kind of like a good mix and a broad range of knowledge that I'm happy that I actually get to use at my work even today. Like, for instance, all types of research methods have been excellent things to know, like when kind of like navigating your way in the world of design, and a tool that you can easily use to broaden your knowledge and demonstrate your skills. But yeah, on top of those, like behavioral science, behavioral psychology and cognitive science have been like really fundamental, also helping us understand how we people act online and on different websites. But yeah, if we go to the next slide. Here are a few examples that I've worked with, or are examples of my work throughout my career. I've had the pleasure to work with like big international clients such as Samsung and something that you might be very familiar with in Sweden, such as Bank ID, and as well like leading companies in Finland now at my current job at Columbia Road. But my favorite part so far has been that because of my work and because of my studies, I've been able to live and see so many different places in the world. I'm currently located in Helsinki, but like I worked for a few years in Stockholm as well as London, and my projects have taken me around the world to places like Beijing, New York, and Funchal. And even though most of my work has been connected to digital interfaces, I've also had the chance to do some really weird stuff and design talking trash bins, for example. So there's a good variety of different things. If we move on to the next slide, here's my history kind of demonstrated in terms of the knowledge that I've had and how it's lived throughout the years. So as mentioned, from school, I kind of like started to get very into this UX design, and that was what my first jobs were about. I was very much a UX designer, and that was my niche. But quite soon, I started to realize that by broadening that scope, I actually get to participate more, and I get to meet more people in the companies I work with. So that's when service design became like a fundamental addition to my stack of tools. But then a few years went by, and I felt like, well, I think I could do more. And that's when I kind of like started to also focus on the UI and visual side of things to kind of like, again, take me to that next step in the work that I was doing. I wanted to like follow my work further and further all the time. And now since joining Columbia Road, the business aspect of design has become like a core thing of my knowledge, and yet another piece in the puzzle for me to understand how companies work and how can I better help them using my competence in design. If we go forward, I want to tell you like a story as well that help explaining like why have I done this? Why have I always like been eager to add another like area of knowledge to my work? like this is how a typical setup at my early career looked like. I would get a task of creating new UX for this site, whatever site it was at the time. And yeah, I was like, of course, I did my best. I did create the new UX. I did some wireframing, maybe tested a little bit with customers, and handed my work over to a visual designer who would then take it further. And then that was it. Thanks. But I would never know whether what I had done saw the light of the day, whether like how did the person who ended up implementing that work, or if they even did implement that work, were feeling. Did it make sense to them? Like all these questions started to pop into my head, and I felt really frustrated not being able to kind of understand what happens after my work is delivered. So I started to ask more questions, and if we go to next slide, why did they want this new UX to be delivered? Like, what was the reason behind? What did they want to achieve? And did it ever help that company and what they wanted to accomplish? And this basically led me to then kind of like getting to that mission of always broadening my knowledge, because I felt like with this work, being just a UX designer was not enough to make a difference, and was not enough for me to really say that my work was worthwhile. So if we go to the next slide, you will get a more recent example. So instead of just asking for new design or new UX, our customers at Columbia Road are asking us to help them sell better online. And as this question is a lot more broader, it means that you need to do a lot, like more things in order to find out what you can do for it. And being a business-minded designer at Columbia Road means that you can always argue for what is the reason we're doing it, and as well as what did it ever accomplish. So currently, when I would deliver my work, I would be able to tell my customers like what was the impact of it. So for instance, how much the conversion rate grew, or how many more visitors are we getting organically from search engines, and what place we're ranking at the moment on Google search results, for instance, which all kind of like argue that this work was worthwhile and it was worth the investment from our customers. And this is something that helps me sleep my nights a lot better, knowing that I actually did a difference to someone with my work. And if we do go to the next slide, this is just like what a typical project from the perspective of a designer might entail at Columbia Road. So we go through these phases of research, co-designing, so involving users, involving our customers, then actually drawing these interfaces on our desk, doing UI and UX sketches, and finally testing the designs in the real world. This could be in form of A/B testing, or just finding like different patterns in analytics, but always we want to see what was achieved. And not only is design like the focus of Columbia Road, but we do a lot of many different things. And if we go to the next slide, here you can see that it's basically just the tip of the icebergs. I've in that blue section, you can connect, like you can see that the things I showed are part of it, but it's clear that there are so many other things. And that's why I feel like very at ease, and why Columbia Road is one of my favorite workplace so far, is because I have this feeling that I can keep on broadening my skills, and in that way increase the impact that I'm able to create at the customers where I'm currently working. But yeah, we can move on to my final slide. So the conclusions, as maybe you've found out during my presentation, broadening your skills can give you the opportunity of making a bigger impact with your work as a designer. And with this, it doesn't mean that you need to do only design. Being a designer and a developer is like a really superstar combo. That's definitely can make a huge impact wherever you work. But I would emphasize that always remember to have a core knowledge area that you excel at. So it's easier to broaden when you have one subject that you can really master and call your own. And when it comes to working and as well as applying for jobs, document your whole process that you've done at school or at your work, because being able to show how decisions were made is just as important as the final results, which could be like coded or designed, no matter what it is. And also, like what I really learned was that visual UX and UI alone was never the thing. It's just like how you communicate things. Design is all about communication, but when you can argue around it, that's when it really becomes meaningful. And that's how like where I find my motivation and inspiration. And as well, the more open-ended problems you are working with, the more ways there are to solve them. So this is good to remember when you're facing new challenge. Is there a very specific way? Does it need just new UX, or is there a broader problem? For instance, how to sell better online that you are actually solving, and there it opens you the opportunity to choose from a variety of tools. But thank you. That was all I had to say. I hope I managed to explain a little bit better, like what does it mean to be a designer at Columbia Road.
Yeah, thanks, Johanna. And if you guys want to discuss these topics with us further, please feel free to add us on LinkedIn. Maybe you want to ask Johanna more about that talking trash can that she was working with, what that was all about. And yeah, if you're interested in checking out our current roles that are out on our website, please go to our career site. We have both full-time roles and summer jobs that we advertise there. And yeah, just follow us on social media, I guess. But now I think it's time for us to go into a little Q&A sesh.
Yes, thank you so much, Emilia and Johanna.
Thank you.
Such a great presentation. So we got some questions, and Tove just wrote, very inspiring. Does Columbia Road take interns? In parentheses, front-end developer. I think this, Tove, you can ask in the Q&A function, and Hannah will answer that, right? So we also have Hannah in the background, and if you're interested in some job or have questions regarding recruitment or anything close to that, ask in the Q&A. You can ask anonymously. You can ask in Swedish if you want to, and she will answer that. Cool. Okay, also, where should I start? So first of all, Johanna, you said you have been working on missions like all over the world. Was this with Columbia Road?
I've actually had a chance to travel around in my previous jobs, and when I joined Columbia Road, our customers are mainly focused in the Nordics, but yeah, there's definitely a chance to travel and work abroad at Columbia Road. But at the moment, I'm quite happy to live in Helsinki after 10 years spent abroad. So I've kind of got my biggest urges to travel out of my system, which is very nice now that we were hit by the pandemic and had to stop travel.
Yeah, it really changed everything. But do you guys work from home during the pandemic and now after, you still do? It's so flexible.
Yeah, it's quite flexible. We've started to go into the office a bit more, but you still have the option to work from home.
Cool. Someone's writing, I love your fluffy coworker.
Donna
I can.
says hi.
Oh, that's so cute. All right. So another question to Emilia. You said you know programming. I wonder if you find it difficult to keep updated in all the new programming technologies and tools that are coming all the time.
Well, I could say that it's definitely a challenge because, like you say, there's new stuff happening all the time in technology, and yeah, it's hard to stay on top of it all. But working in sales, I would say when I go into this intro meetings with clients, I don't necessarily have to go into the nitty-gritty of the actual coding language that they're using in their different platforms and things like that. That's something that is passed over in once we win the case to the like the developers, the development consultants at our company. So yeah, I do like keep up to date with different technologies, especially in the area that I focus on the most, which is CRM tools and marketing automation tools. But then again, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, that's more that's something that I hand over to the experts when we win the case.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but someone asked on the same, like, what are you aiming at in the future? More tech, and if so, which tech? So maybe, like, I don't know. It's the same question-ish. So I think this question's popped up during Johanna's talk. How did you end up at Columbia Road? Maybe what's the best thing about working there?
Yeah, well, for me, I found Columbia Road when I was moving back to, or planning my move back to Helsinki. And for me, Columbia Road stood out as one of the kind of most interesting new companies. And when I joined, I was employer number 40. So we were quite a lot smaller at the time. But yeah, I was really impressed by their story of how design has no value in itself alone. It's just like a way of solving a problem or a tool for that. And that, for me, I thought was a very healthy perspective, because there's quite a bit of prestige that, you know, around design but honestly, how I felt in my early career, like if you can't argue why it's worth the investment, like why should anyone invest? And Columbia Road is really good at arguing for the value.
Good answer. Also, do you work together anything, like Emilia, you and Johanna?
We haven't been on any projects together yet, but I'm quite new. I started in May, but I'm sure we'll work more closely in the future.
So you started right during the pandemic then?
Yes.
How was that?
It was quite interesting. It was a bit slower also because it was during the summer, and in consulting, the summer is very slow because the clients go on vacation. But the pandemic on top of that, yeah, it made it extra slow. So yeah, it wasn't that easy to do sales in the summer and also in a pandemic, I would say. But it allowed me to do a lot of focus on a lot of training. So at Columbia Road, we focus on learning and competency sharing a lot. So it allowed me to do different certifications in, for example, HubSpot, because I was familiar with Salesforce from before, but I got to dig into HubSpot over the summer a lot and get better at that. So that was good.
Is that some of the marketing tools that you use then?
Yes, HubSpot is actually the CRM that we use internally at Columbia Road. But I can also mention that at Columbia Road, we're actually technology agnostic. So we are HubSpot premium partners, and we're partners with Salesforce and licensed and all the Google tools and all of that. But we're not tied, we're not biased in any way. We can work with the client's existing tool stack. We can also help them in choosing what tool to choose if they're in that stage. And we can also build something from scratch, which is really fun because that gives you the opportunity to learn a bunch of different technologies.
It seems like no project is the similar to another.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Sounds so much fun.
It
All
is really
right, I can see that the clock have struck 8:40 and we have to end this webinar. I think that we answered most of your questions, and as Emilia said before, you can contact them on LinkedIn. We will add this to the email afterwards along with the recording. So yeah, reach out to them, ask them about that trash project you had, Johanna. I want to know more. We need to chat here afterwards. And thank you everyone who came and listened to us this morning. You are awesome. Oh, thank you. Everyone's right. Thank you. Thank you guys. And
Yeah, thank
have
you so much.
the best day today. You had a good start for sure. Thank you, Emilia, Johanna. Thank you, Hannah, in the background.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
See you
Thank you. It was
on the
really a
next
pleasure.
break. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.